Okay, this is the presentation of the gain of cash flow and assets. Something that is very near and dear to my heart. And before I get started, this is my book published by published by John Wiley and Sons, titled "Building a Small Business That Warren Buffett Would Love." It's available in major bookstores and online. It's in New York, Chicago, Seattle, Anchorage, Alaska. I thought the Anchorage piece was pretty cool, and recently had a write-up on entrepreneur.com. There's a URL. We'll take a look at that later, but just to kind of jump into what this is going to cover, it's going to talk about the picture of cash flow and assets, how different people spend, what exactly those assets are that create cash flow, jump into the asset class of business and how it can be a business system, the 4 quadrants of earners and how that relates to taxes, and the actual game of cash flow. So this whole concept of cash flow and assets isn't new. It's captured in the income statement and balance sheet, which can sound boring to a lot of people, but if you look at it in this pictorial representation, in my mind, it helps you get a better grasp on it. And it's also been presented by Robert Kiyosaki in his Rich Dad Poor Dad books. This is his whole framework. So on the top here you have income and expenses, the income statement. And then on the bottom you have the balance sheet, which is our assets and liabilities. Financial independence is represented by the point at which our income from passive asset sources is equal to or greater than our expenses. So a person with $2,000 a month in expenses is financially independent once they have enough cash flow, $2,000 of cash flow, spewing off from their assets into their income column. So I don't think of financial independence as money grubbing or having enough coins in a vault to swim around in like Scrooge McDuck. To me, it's about having options, it's about having independence, it's about having more time to spend with family or go after other pursuits. So here's how different people spend money, and instead of investing in assets that's going to allow you to reach that financial independence level, this is what people do with that income. So some people, as soon as that income comes out the door, it goes right out the door, a second door through expenses, whether this is eating out or the light bill or mortgage payments. You don't have a chance to do anything with it. You don't have a chance to throw it down here into the balance sheet and invest it in assets, or they're not even going out and getting liabilities. It's kind of just month to month existence or paycheck to paycheck existence here. Middle class keeps up with the Joneses. They come down here and say, I need a new car. I need some jet skis, and I'm going to go finance those through the bank or the financing division of the car company. I'm going to fill up this liability column with bad liabilities, which are liabilities that don't generate cash flow, and that's going to add to my expense column here, my income statement. And then as the income comes in the door, it goes out the door in expenses that are generated by bad liabilities or bad debt. The rich, and I would say the rich that could have bad connotations, but think of it as rich in time or rich in options. Again, if you're at this point, you can go back to school, you can pursue a dream job, you can spend more time with family, you have kind of an insurance to hedge against downturns. But the rich or the financially independent invest in assets that are going to throw off income into their income column and snowball this, and they reach critical mass once they have enough income to meet their expenses. Now, example, it was $2,000 a month. This person has $2,000 a month in expenses, whether that's the light bill, mortgage payments, food, clothing, insurance, and then they have $2,000 of income coming in. So just what are these assets? And here I'm just going into a little more depth detail on the definition. So our definition is not a strict accounting definition, but it's something that puts money into your pocket on relatively a short-term basis. Although we could talk about capital gains and how you can cash those out, but relatively on a monthly or quarterly basis when it comes to dividends, it's relatively passive, because otherwise it's just a 1-to-1 ratio where it's basically your job. And I'm not saying you shouldn't work. I think more and more people are realizing that retirement isn't all that fun, just to sit around and do nothing. So I think we all want to stay busy. So it's not about it's not about the 4-hour work week and sitting around and being lazy. Man, sorry about that. And thus it is a system, so we'll talk about that. So specific examples include that the chief of them all is cash flowing rental property. Don't get scared off by that, because you can get property management to handle the tenant headaches, the unclogging toilets and chasing down checks and all that. Dividend paying stocks, which deliver quarterly. Covered call options, offer stocks. A business system, which doesn't require your presence. I would also add to this, you could also throw in capital gains on Buffett style stocks, Warren Buffett style stocks. Capital gains has been derided a little bit by the cash flow world because because the capital gains taxes, but B, because they tend to throw it into more speculation, less cash flow. But if you invest like Warren Buffett, you're definitely going to have reliability in the capital gains, and thus that transitions it to more of a cash flow type investing. As far as business goes, I would recommend that you check out the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. He talks about how to build a system. He talks about franchises and how to build more of a turnkey business versus something that, if you leave for a week, it's going to fall apart. I think that's definitely the way to go. It's not, no system is perfect, no asset class is 100% perfect, but if you're going to do it, study up on this. The 4 quadrants of earners that Robert Kiyosaki talks about includes the employee in the E quadrant, self-employed, the big business owner, and the investor. So his recommendation is to get over to this side of the quadrant in order to be financially independent. And you can do that through being an investor, which you're doing more Buffett style stock investments, or you're investing in rental property, or you're doing covered call options. And then you make the leap into a big business owner when you have more of a systematic business that has a lot of leverage to it, not just financial leverage, but a ratio of more than 1-to-1. Maybe you have 500 employees in your system, so it'd be a 1-to-500 ratio. And the different tax rates that come along with this, if you earn a paycheck, you're potentially going to get 50% chopped off the top, versus portfolio incomes, you're investing dividends or getting capital gains, potentially up to 20%. I think it's 15% on dividends right now. And in rental property, you can potentially legally and ethically get it down to 0% through deductions such as depreciation on the property, which can be rolled forward through a 1031 exchange, and you don't have to sell it. You can continue to receive that cash flow. But you see, a person that earns $1 here, it only takes 50 cents down here. So if I make $100,000 in earned income, the person earning passive income only has to earn $50,000 to match that $100,000. And going into the benefits of a business a little bit, on the personal income statement, if you're getting a paycheck, you earn an income and then you're taxed right off the top, and then you spend on everything that's left over. In a business system, you earn an income, you spend, and then you're taxed on what's left over. In a business, even in a small business, you get access to tax deductions such as depreciation, home office expense, travel and business meals, and that lowers your tax liability. The game of cash flow, if you go to richdad.com, you'll see that he does have a game that teaches you to make those passive income investments. Again, the idea here is to focus on assets. Focus down in the asset column and build these. And I would even, another couple that I've thrown in there, silver and even comic books, I recently discovered have a rate of return of about 23%. Again, that's more capital gains investing, not so much cash flow, but this is, I would argue, stepping outside the Rich Dad Poor Dad box a little bit, that if the capital gains are reliable as they are in like a Buffett type investment, then it's starting to meet that mold of cash flow. It's something that can be cashed out on a regular basis. Just in the world of capital gains, as far as stocks go, if the market's down, you need a cash buffer and maybe just a savings account at the bank or a money market account at the bank to cover your cash flow for the short term while the market's down until it comes back. This is the book again, Building a Small Business That Warren Buffett Loved, published by John Wiley & Sons. They are the publishers of the 4 dummy books that you see everywhere, the yellow books. It's available everywhere, including major markets and bookstores in New York, Chicago, Seattle, Anchorage. Recently featured on entrepreneur.com. And go to 1 Million Jobs.